GM just reporting. Phil LeBeau joins us now with more. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Joe. This is a beat on the top and the bottom line for General Motors in the second quarter, earning $1.91 a share. The consensus estimate was for $1.85, with revenue coming in well above expectations at $44.7 billion. The street was at $42.6 billion. The company is taking a charge of $792 million related to the Chevy Bolt recall that's played out over the last year and a half. Then you look at the numbers within the numbers for the second quarter. Free cash flow for the automotive division, $5.54 billion. That's about $4 billion better than it was in the second quarter of last year. Adjusted margin for the second quarter of 7.2% overall compared to 6.6% last year. The North American margin coming in at 8.6% compared to just 8% last year. And the guidance is being raised by General Motors. 2023 EPS guidance of $7.15 to $8.15 a share. That's a big increase from where it was. $6.35 to $7.35 was the previous guidance, with the adjusted guide for EBIT adjusted guide. $12 to $14 billion is what the company expects to earn. Previously, it said $11 to $13 billion was the expectation. And the company is also raising its guidance for automotive free cash flow, now in a range of $7 to $9 billion. Previously, it was $5.5 to $7.5 billion, so a $1.5 billion increase there. CapEx, they're also trimming that, how much they're going to be spending, between $11 and $12 billion compared to the previous guide of $11 to $13 billion. And their their target for cost cuts through the end of 2024. Remember, they've been doing this for some time. It was supposed to be up to $2 billion. They've increased that by another $1 billion. They now expect to cut up to $3 billion by the end of 2024. By the way, that will not include new job cuts that they have used in the past. That's not part of this. And finally, they expect to produce 100,000 EVs in North America in the second half of this year, reiterating that target. Lots to discuss with GM CEO Mary Barra. You don't want to miss our exclusive. It's coming up later this morning on Squawk on the Street. We will be talking about not only these numbers, which are way above expectation. I mean, they are killing it in terms of average transaction price of almost $52,000 a vehicle, but it's the EV business and the investments that are being made there. And the fact, guys, that they are increasing their cost cuts as well as pulling back on CapEx. They're not going to say, I don't think they're going to say on the conference call, that we expect things to slow down in the economy, but it's clear they are watching the cost side of the equation at General Motors.
All right, Phil, looking at it's a weird business, a $50 billion company, $54 billion company, yep. but one of the, linchpins of the U.S. economy still. So it's weird. It's been tough. A lot of debt, tough to it's a daunting future, uncertain future.
Yeah, because of electric vehicles. Joe,
yeah.
But you look at the ICE business, and I know people will sit there and say, well, the ICE business is ultimately going to melt. Yes, someday it will. But right now, they are killing it when it comes to the ICE business. That's a reflection on the consumer that is out there right now.
Which makes it all the tougher, though, when they start dealing with union negotiations to say we're not doing well. And how do we line
That's
up
one
for
of the
this
things we'll
future?
talk with Mary Barra about.
Yeah.
That contract is up in mid-September.
They're big. The product mix are EVs on one side and the big old Suburbans on the other side still, and the big pickup trucks. So you got huge emitters, ICE emitters,
Sure.
and then on the other side you got a little percentage of EVs. That's bizarre.
That's part of the
Joe,
question, is the growing
we
portion
will have internal combustion engine vehicles in this country
you don't
for
have to
our
be
lifetime and many years beyond that.
You don't have to be in a land
They have to meet that
yacht.
audience too.
But you don't have to drive a land yacht. You could
Unless
be
you
in
have
one of
6
those
kids,
little.
you're taking a soccer.
Be in a Mini Cooper. I know you do need one.
There are
people are still buying them.
Becomes the question, like as a lot of companies, including GM, make plans to say this is an all-electric future. The question is, are the customers going to follow, and what happens with the union, which also has a lot of questions about all of these EV jobs.
But in the meantime, Phil, the EV percentage is like this, and the percentage of pickups and Suburbans is like this.
Joe, you are correct, but let me counter what you're saying with this one stat that you will say, wow. In California, in the second quarter, the Model Y, just the Model Y, more Model Ys were sold in California than everything that Ford sold in the state. Yeah. Think about that. You think about that. That tells you where the market is in terms of EVs.
When I'm in my neighborhood, literally, so it is Tesla, 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 something else. Tesla, 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 something else. Tesla, Tesla, Tesla.
And
Red
GM
Tesla,
and Ford
blue
believe
Tesla,
that they
white
can
Tesla.
ultimately believe that they can be as good, if not better, than Tesla when it comes to electric vehicles. They're at the point now where they've got to show that. And we'll talk with Mary Barr about that.
All right. Is the Ioniq's is that an EV?
Hyundai's? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool-looking car. Hyundai's...
Hyundai's number 2 in EV sales in this, for the first half of the year.
There we go.
That's how it works, yeah. Anecdotal evidence. All right. Thank you, Phil.